So, thank you so much guys dan juga teman-teman yang sudah join untuk sesi malam ini di Data and Analytics 101 series kita. Hari ini kita mau ngobrol tentang Introduction to Design Thinking. Nah, before we start, I want to talk about our upcoming course, which is actually tomorrow. So, kita ada yang namanya Decision Science 101 Core Series, di mana itu kita menyediakan training mengenai analytics dan data analytics berdasarkan various industries dan juga various problems. Nah, untuk yang besok, kita akan menyediakan People Analytics atau Human Capital Analytics, where we explore the use of data analytics in making decisions and solving problems around human resources. Nah, jadi kalau untuk teman-teman yang di HR atau yang penasaran tentang human resources dan bagaimana case studies untuk solving problems di human resources, bisa ikut untuk training besok. Nah, it's only limited for 30 people. Jadi, get it while it's still there. At the same time, kita nanti akan menyediakan e-certificates subject to exercise results because there's going to be an assessment as well. Jadi ini bukan hanya sekedar training cuman ngomong-ngomong, but there will be an exercise and as well as you'll get knowledge as well as the presentation material from our case studies. If you want a specific case study as well during the session, maybe for a specific industry, mungkin di banking atau di manufacturing misalnya, kita juga bisa provide case study-nya kalau nanti mau setelah kelasnya. And then the third one is simulation exercise. Nah, di simulation exercise ini nanti kita di training itu akan memakai Excel untuk mengolah datanya dalam kasus real case yang kita pernah kerjakan juga in human capital analytics. Nah, jadi di training ini kita pokoknya complete, not just cuman ngobrol-ngobrol, but it's also actually working with the data itself when solving a human resource problem. Okay, so first of all, welcome to our webinar again. And we would like to introduce ourselves first. So we are House of Analytics, and House of Analytics is actually a consultant that is focused around analytics and innovation labs. So what is analytics? Analytics is basically when you want to make a decision, you basically try to use data and information as much as possible when making certain decisions. And this is basically has been our main work, especially for our clients, where we help businesses make certain decisions, be it sales decisions, be it financial or even human resources, with the use of data analytics when it comes to making those certain decisions. Nah, tapi juga kita melakukan data analytics untuk solve problems-nya juga, di mana itu kita memakai data analytics untuk menganalisa masalah dan juga framing the problem. Nah, sebenarnya kita juga udah bekerja sama dengan beberapa klien. Mainly our experience are in banking. Jadi seperti BCA, Mandiri, BNI, DBS. Tapi kita juga pernah bekerja sama dengan Singapore Airlines and JNA untuk manufacturing atau logistical-nya dalam experience kita. Jadi kita lumayan vast, and so we cover a lot of case study, not just from the banking, but also from the real or the tangible sector. Okay. Our speakers today ada 3, and so we have myself, Sean Taher, and then we have Anastasia or Tasha, and also we have Sarah today. So My name is again Sean Taher, and I'm actually a co-founder of House of Nautics together here with my business partner Tasha, and we've been together for 2 years, 2 or 3 years, and mainly we're in the consulting industry. So my specialization is actually in business analytics and financial analytics. Di mana itu saya backgroundnya itu ada di ekonomi, ambil S1 ekonomi, tetapi setelah di ekonomi saya ambil S2 di Innovation Management atau Manajemen Inovasi di University Arts of London. Jadi sebelumnya itu saya ambilnya ekonomi yang berdasarkan angka-angka GDP kayak gitu kan, terus habis itu mulai pas S2-nya ambilnya arts, di mana itu saya mainnya di bidang inovasi dan juga lebih kepada design thinking yang kita akan ngomong hari ini. Nah, untuk Tasha, would you like to introduce yourself, Tasha?
So, good evening, guys. Nama saya Tasha, panggil aja Tasha.
Tasha,
Saya
agak ini.
Okay. Is this better?
Yep, it's better now.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Selamat malam, saya Tasha. Background saya berbeda dari Sean. Kalau Sean ekonomi, background saya adalah psikologi. Jadi, saya banyak memang mengerjakan project-project yang background-nya people analytics. Jadi how to solve problems using data from psychometry gitu ya, menggunakan psikometri dan juga performance untuk bisa menyelesaikan masalah di bidang baik itu human capital ataupun di bagian bisnis. Ya, dan saya sendiri karena background saya memang psikologi mengenai people, jadi banyak banget sebenarnya yang ditemukan di lapangan people problem yang memang tidak terdeteksi gitu ya, dan ini yang nanti kita akan bahas melalui materi design thinking pada malam hari ini. So I would like to bring this introduction session to Sarah. Hi Sarah.
Hello, good evening everyone. So berbeda dengan Sean dan Tasha, kalau Sean background economy and arts, Tasha background psychology, saya background dentistry. But anyway, I've been joining with House of Analytics for the past almost 2 years, yeah. And then I've also been involved in some projects, including the Singapore Airlines and then some banking. The latest project that I was doing was about human capital analytics and financial institution in one of the private banks. Dan ternyata analytics ini, walaupun sering banget kedengaran untuk perusahaan-perusahaan yang kuat di IT gitu ya, yang macam e-commerce atau banking, tapi sebenarnya human capital analytics ini atau design thinking ini bisa diaplikasikan di mana saja, terutama untuk membuat inovasi atau untuk membuat sebuah solusi yang baru ya, rekomendasi yang berbeda dari yang sebelum-sebelumnya sudah diterapkan, yang kita akan dengerin sama-sama di malam hari ini.
Okay, thank you so much guys for the introduction. Nah, sebelum kita mulai, we want to give what we're going to learn today so that you guys can know what to expect to get from today's session. Why do we want to do this? Is because we don't want people to suddenly, how come we didn't go through this material, for example. Jadi kita nggak mau kaget, nggak mau teman-teman kaget tiba-tiba kok nggak ngomong tentang ini, nggak ngomong tentang topik yang lain, atau kok contohnya itu tidak seperti yang teman-teman expect gitu kan. Jadi kita mau jelasin dulu. So what can you expect? Jadi malam ini the topic is about using design principles or practices within a business context. Jadi ini we're not going to talk about how to design a building or how to what is design thinking in the design context. Tapi kita ini lebih ngomong tentang design principles di business context. Jadi tetap ininya tentang bisnis dan making decisions. Nah, contoh-contoh yang kita akan kasih itu juga mengenai how to make the decisions dan juga bagaimana untuk menyelesaikan masalah. Dan terakhir kita juga akan memberi framework dari design thinking ini untuk problem solving dan juga decision making. Jadi once again, this is not a design, how to design a table, how to design a building or like house or product. Tapi ini lebih kepada bagaimana memakai design thinking atau cara pikir secara designer untuk membuat keputusan dan juga problem solving. Okay, now with all that done, let's continue and let's actually start the session. Okay, so maybe many of you, I don't know, who have heard about design thinking or have not heard about design thinking. Tapi to introduce design thinking in one sentence is basically, it is basically a human-centered mindset that combines what designers use from their practices, from their methods, as well as their way of thinking when trying to create solutions for a problem that you, the user, or even the person trying to create the solution experience. Now, there's a reason why I bold or ditebelin teksnya di human-centered design practices dan juga experience. Nah, untuk di design thinking itu, everything pokoknya itu mengenai human-centered atau pengalaman. What do you feel? What do you see? Dan as well, di gambar ini juga, design thinking itu, it actually did came from a design practitioner, di mana itu mereka itu ada salah suatu designer, di mana itu bagaimana kalau kita mengambil cara kita desain untuk solve problems, not just kayak everyday things, kayak misalnya kursi nih digambar kan, tetapi juga di dalam konteks bisnis. Nah, mungkin salah satu contoh design thinking yang paling kelihatan, kalau kita misalnya ke page berikutnya, nah, pasti kan teman-teman kan udah pernah tahu kan apa Apple dan juga Android. Nah, one of the most used example for design thinking is basically Apple's and Android's way of thinking. If kalau teman-teman tahu kan yang namanya iPhone, terus habis itu namanya juga Samsung kan beda banget kan. iPhone is very simple, it's also very expensive, tapi at the same time sometimes it's also limiting kan. Terus ada Android, di mana itu Android itu bisa melakukan banyak hal. Android can do a lot of things. It's open source. You can do a lot of settings. But at the same time, for those yang nggak familiar dengan Android-nya sendiri, biasanya itu kan susah untuk dipakai kan, dan juga untuk dikotak-atik. Nah, this is to do with two different mindset as well as philosophy. Di mana itu waktu Android dibuat itu dan juga when Google made Android open source, Google had in mind to make Android a more of a technological leap. Di mana itu mereka itu fokusnya Android itu menjadi hal yang teknologi, di mana users atau orang lain bisa kotak-atik dan bisa improve softwarenya sendiri kan. Nah, tetapi Apple dan sampai sekarang Apple itu tidak melihat mereka sendiri itu sebagai technology company. Malahan Apple itu sejak dari dulu they have always seen themselves as a design company. Now you may have not known that, but actually during Steve Jobs' time when he first created Apple, Apple itu sebenarnya udah bekerja sama dengan desain industrial designer, saya lupa namanya, tapi Steve Jobs itu buat departemen sendiri untuk Apple, di mana itu departemen ini benar-benar khusus untuk desain. Nah, dan design thinking ini dipakai banget sama Apple waktu mereka mau membuat produk. Nah, mereka itu jadinya when they release a product, they don't ask, okay, what kind of new technology is there? What kind of new software or new hardware gitu. Tapi mereka lebih nanya, what do people really feel when they use our computers? What do they actually do with our computers? Jadi nanya, orang tuh ngapain sih sebenarnya di komputer, untuk apa sih, biasanya pakai apa. Nah, mereka itu mulainya itu dari user atau dari orangnya yang actually memakai produknya dulu. Nah, dari situ makanya sampai sekarang pun Apple sama IDEO, ada salah satu design thinking company juga, itu bekerja sama very closely. Nah, selain dari contoh Apple dan Android, mungkin tone down lagi, kita mau explore contoh dari Toyota. Nah, Toyota itu di manufacturing-nya, itu waktu misalnya ada employee mau masuk ke manajemen, mereka itu sebenarnya harus bekerja sebagai operator di pabrik-pabrik. Nah, kenapa mereka sengaja dimasukin kepada pabrik? Karena Toyotanya sendiri, manajemennya itu ingin employees-nya itu mengerti dan juga mendapatkan observation as well as experiencing what the people at the factory are actually experiencing. What do they do? And then what do they, how do they feel, right? Is it tiring? Is it not tiring, right? And from there, they can then understand not only just from the data point of view, karena kan kalau kayak misalnya di manufacturing kan ada proses line kan. Nah, dari proses line itu kan pasti kita mau improve the process and pasti ada bottlenecks. Nah, tapi Toyota itu nggak mau employee-nya itu cuma ngeliatin dari segi data, tapi benar-benar ngeliatin dari segi empati, di mana itu employees-nya yang di manajemen sampai ke CEO pun itu pernah at least 1 bulan ngerjain apa yang operator di pabrik pernah kerjain, biar ngerti seberapa susahnya dan seberapa mungkin gampangnya operator kerjain hal ini. Nah, baru dari situ whenever they come up with solutions, itu bukan hanya berdasarkan data, tetapi juga berdasarkan human-nya juga. Jadi tahu nih, oke, kita masukin proses baru, oke, workers-nya akan seperti ini, operatornya harus kerjainnya kayak begini, ini. Nah, jadi udah lengkap jadinya, bukan hanya dari segi analisa data. Nah, kecil ya suaranya. Sorry. Oke. Nah, sekarang kita mau masuk ke 5 stages process atau design thinking prosesnya sendiri. Nah, di design thinking ini sebenarnya pertama kali coined atau pertama kali dibuat oleh namanya Tom Kelly, yaitu dia itu adalah salah satu co-foundernya IDEO. Nah, Tom Kelly ini bikin yang namanya 5 stages process for design thinking, where this is quite well known. You can Google it as well. So the 5 stages contains these steps. The first one is empathy, which I think when I was in the University Arts of School, this is basically the first and the most important part of design thinking, and that is empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is the ability for you to feel and understand what others are experiencing or not. Jadi kalau misalnya kan kita sering nih ada temen, terus temen kita tiba-tiba mungkin handphonenya hilang, terus kita sendiri ngerasa sedih kan untuk temen itu. Kenapa? Karena ya handphonenya hilang, terus jadinya kan langsung ngerasa guilty ataupun kayak wah kalau gua handphonenya hilang jadi ini kan sedih juga kan. Nah, that's empathy. Di mana itu kita um, feel what others feel whenever they go through an event or what's it the basic a situation, right? And from then, once you understand, you then define the problem, and that is basically the second step. Defining the problem is basically coming from the empathy, but as well as with data. And the third step is basically ideate or coming up with ideas of how to solve the problem definition or problem frame. And then the fourth one is prototype. Prototype is basically after you come up with the idea, with the ideas or the different ideas, you then um, try to come up with the possible scenarios for each of them so that you are able to understand what is the best scenario or outcome for each solution. And then the fifth one is test it or basically implement it. And from the testing, you basically go back again as a loop or feedback loop into the empathy again. Why is that? Is because when you actually test it again, it's a continuous learning. You have to keep finding out, okay, let's say kayak a website gitu kan. We already updated the website. We made the website better, changed the color scheme and everything. And okay, so do I like it, right? Do people like it? And that's basically what what we have to do as well. Before we release a product into the market, we also have to test it ourselves, right? But at the same time, to test it ourselves, we actually need to think, if I was a customer, how would I feel with this product, or how would I feel with this kind of service, right? So it goes back in the loop. And with this design thinking, we actually want to give you guys a kind of applied version of design thinking into analytics. And so design thinking is not only for making products, making chairs, making tables, but it's also for problem solving, for human resources, for customer experience, for various things that are also intangible. And so we call this basically innovation analytics. And in this innovation analytics, we basically took the same steps of design thinking, but we applied it in our practice in the field, where we also translate it into something that is more applicable for a business context. So the translated version is basically, again, in 5 stage, but we basically start with framing the problem. Now, why is that different is because most of the time, whenever we whenever we feel that something is wrong, we first have to understand what is really the problem, right? Or am I even experiencing a problem in my business? And after the first step, we usually gather the information to understand even deeper on why the problem is actually happening. And after understanding why the problem is happening with data, with quantitative data, with observation, interviews, we then go to connecting insights. And here we try to understand how do these events actually play out, and actually how can these problems, right, actually arise. And the fourth one is creating the solution, similar to the ideate, but basically we come up with different solutions as well. And the fifth one is implementing the solution, where we actually have to come up with the implementation plan. Not just, okay, this is a problem and I think we can do this, but also we create, okay, knowing that we have to do step A, B, C, what is then the plan to actually implement those? Because executing is actually well, people think that, okay, you find out the answers, but actually the execution also is, I forgot the phrase, but basically, your plan, your strategy usually doesn't survive first contact with the enemy, right? Meaning that usually you have to come up with a plan for the implementation, and you have to make sure that it's covering every aspect of the plan. Okay, so after we gone through all of this theory as well as the framework, we want to talk about the case study uh, that we had with design thinking as well as innovation analytics. So, Sarah and Tasha, would you like to take over for the case study?
Okay, thank you, Sean, for the very elaborate explanations about the design thinking itself and the theory or the foundation on how can we apply design thinking and innovation analytics. Okay, so guys, after we listen to Sean's explanation, I think it would be better if we jump right into the case study, because of course it will help you understand more about the innovation analytics and design thinking itself. So back uh, probably at the end of last year, we were approached by F&B or a restaurant, let's say a gelato cafe. They approached us saying that they feel that there is something that they can improve in terms of the customer journey, in terms of the customer experience. The sales are very good. The people are really great. They select a very, very great team, and their product is amazing. But basically, they feel that they can improve their customer experience because they want to see if they can also improve their sales by improving the customer experience. So we came there, and then we asked them about what happened. What you see here is the graphic of customer emotional journey. So when you first walk into a shop, you know the product is good, you feel that the service is good, you will feel happy, right? Like you see a lot of stuff that you want to buy. In this case, gelato. The gelato looks really, really good, and you as a customer would feel like, oh, I want to buy this, I want to buy that, I want to buy this, I want to buy that. And then you come to the counter, and then ask to the cashier or the server, can you recommend me something that is the best seller here? Or I want to buy 2 flavors of gelato. Can you suggest me what kind of flavors I should get together? Now, after that, you will do some kind of tasting, like you want to try the chocolate or strawberry and then the vanilla and so on and so forth until you pay and then you enjoy the gelato. So that is your emotional journey as a customer. So when you first walk into the shop, you will feel very excited because everything looks so good. But then when you arrive in front of the counter, you will see you have a lot of options, and then you feel confused what kind of flavors you should choose. Now, during this time, you will feel a little bit less excited about it. That's why if you take a look at the second point in this graph, the line was going down instead of going up. And then after that, if you ask for the recommendation, you will feel a little bit happier if the cashier or the server can recommend you flavor. But in this case, when we happened to visit the gelato place, what we were answered was, oh, it depends on your preferences. So basically, they didn't give us any suggestion. They only said it depends of your preferences without any follow-up questions. At that time, we feel a little bit weird because usually when we come to a restaurant and ask what is your recommendation, they will just offer the best menu or the special of the day, right? And then when you taste the products, it feels good, you feel a little bit happier. But then when you feel that you have to pay, maybe you feel a little bit less happy or a little bit upset because of the price and so on. But after you taste the product, you will feel happy again because the product is really good. So basically, this is the customer journey that happens to the gelato shop. we are trying to see if there is any way we could improve the customer journey. The most ideal way is to make it everything is above the line. So throughout the whole journey, everyone is happy from tasting to the experience to paying and everything. They should be happy. That's the most ideal one. But based on this customer journey, what are the things that we can improve from this customer emotional journey in Gelato shop using design thinking and innovation analytics? Okay. So first, after we become a mystery shopper, after we come to the place and then try to do our own investigation like a detective, we want to see what is the problem. We take a look at their SOP. Their customer experience, the one that they offer to the customers, are basically all based on the SOP. They have 3 main SOP. The first one is greeting, the second one is recommendation, and the third one is upsell. So let's say you walk into the shop. There would be someone who asks, oh, good morning or good afternoon. Are you a returning customer? Are you new? Especially when the line is long, they won't be able to deliver the best of their SOP because there would be a lot of people they have to greet. But if the line is not too long, they would be able to greet everyone. So based on our experience, because the line is quite long, it was during holiday season, they skipped the greetings directly to us. They skipped the personal greeting to us. The second step of the SOP is basically the recommendation. So even before we ask the recommended flavor, the server should be able to ask, what is your flavor preference? Oh, I like something sweet, or I like something slightly bitter. And then they will ask, okay, they will say, okay, if you like something bitter, you should try this. If you like this, you should try this. And then they should offer whether you want a cup or cone, whether you have any allergies. It's all based in the SOP. But when we went there, our finding was less than 10% ask for allergies. And a lot of people need to ask first what is the recommendation before being offered with the flavor preference or being offered with flavor suggestions. The third step in the SOP is that they have to do upselling. Maybe when the first time you went there, you already have something in mind, such as, oh, I only want to buy a single cup, a small size. But then the server should be able to offer you something a little bit more expensive, which is upselling, such as, do you want a medium one or a larger cup? Or maybe do you want your ice cream or your gelato with pancake, with waffles, and recommend other products? This is an SOP that all of the servers or all of the cashiers should do. But our finding was less than 10% of the servers and of the cashier do upselling. So not everyone do upsell. Usually after we say that, oh, we want small cup with chocolate, that's it. They don't offer us any other product. They don't offer us whether we want to upsize. They don't offer us any drinks or other dessert to go with our gelato. Okay. So after we take a look at their SOP, we also want to gather different information. What are the information that we gather here? To be able to implement innovation analytics, we also want to see the power of the people itself, which is the personality and the potential of the people, whether they would be able to give the best service or not. So our method of gathering information in this case was handing out surveys of the personality surveys. Why? Because we want to see the culture of the F&B, of the gelato store. We want to see the culture and we want to see the potential of each of the employee. We ask the owners, there are 4 owners. We also ask about the higher management like the finance manager and the floor manager, the field manager, and then we also ask about the staff. We also ask the survey to the staff, to the cashier, and everyone else. What we found out is that the dominant culture is create. What does create means? So in terms of culture, there are actually 4 dominant cultures. The first one is create. There is control, and there is collaborate, and then there is compete. Create is basically a culture where you are able to create everything that you want. It's a creative culture. Usually this type of culture are owned by a company like Apple or like Google. And then we found out that in this gelato store, interestingly, the dominant culture is create. So basically the owners and then the staff, the employee, the management are provided an environment that they could be whoever they want, and they could achieve or they could express themselves as much as they want. So they are free to do their own modification of the SOP. And then the subdominant culture, or the less dominant culture, let's say, is control, where they have to follow the SOP. That's what we see from the owners and management and from the employee as well. We also see some attributes that is really, really high in the owners and management, such as the self-confidence, leading, autonomy, taking responsibility, and creativity. It shows that the owners and the management are very good in leading and are very good in providing space for the staff to express themselves. And they are very good in coming up with solution, or let's say in F&B business, maybe new flavors or new events for the customer to experience. While for the employee, we also see that they are very high in taking responsibility, in self-confidence, respect of authority, autonomy, and work ethic. This shows that they are very responsible and they are they have a lot of respect for the authority. But not only that, even without the authority, or in this case, the management, the owners, even without them, they are able to come up with their own solution when they encounter some problems in the field or during their shift, which is the personality or the potential of these people are already ideal to work in an F&B business. The second step is what we already explained in the beginning, which we went to the field, we went to the gelato store as the mystery shopper. So basically the owner, when they came to us, they already told all of the staff and the management that we will be hiring consultant to help us in improving our customer experience. But we sent a different person the first time. So let's say the first one who came to the gelato store was Sean. So Sean came there, he interviews, he observed for the whole week as Sean, the consultant. But then a few weeks, probably 2 weeks after that, me and Tasha came to the place, not telling them that we are the consultant, to pretend that we're actually a local buyer. So we go and then we experience the whole service from the moment we went into the gelato store until we enjoy the gelato. Why did we do that? Because we want to understand what the customers feel and experience when they are being served. If we come there as a consultant, of course, the staff, the management, the owner will give us the best service. But if we come there as an actual customer or ordinary customer, which they don't know that we're the consultant, they wouldn't be able to differentiate us, and they should be able to give us the same service level of the one written in the SOP and the one they gave to during the session of the observation from the consultant.
Okay, thank you very much, Sarah, for giving us the context of what is happening and also how to gather the information. Now, after we've gathered the information, we already know that we can see who are the people, and also we can also see the type of service that they provide. Now, the next thing that we want to do, how do we make this above and beyond the expectation of the customers? So right now we are trying to connect the insights, all from the observations, all from the data that we've gathered. How do we connect the insights so that we can help the customer journey to be better? We came across this idea about experience economy, and I believe that this is very popular actually in also in design, in food and beverage industry. It's about how do you go above and beyond your service. So we see here there are stages to the experience economy. We have commodity as the lowest experience, and this is just laying out all of the products. So for example, coffee. We have the coffee beans. The coffee beans are the commodity. Product, second stage. What is product? It means that we have put these coffee beans, roasted it, and sell it in the supermarket and package it. That's product. Third stage, we have service. What do we mean by service? It's not just the product, not just the raw product of the roasted coffee, but we are being served by someone in cafes or in restaurants. And then the last stage here, we have what we call an experience. You don't just come to the cafe or you don't just come to the restaurant for the product. It's not because, oh, I go there because the coffee is good. Sure, the coffee is good. But I also come there because I come there to talk with my friends. I also like the ambience very much. I really like the mugs. I really like the design of the place. I really, really like the smell of the place. So basically, we have seen that this gelato store is here in the service stage, right? Stage 3. How do we bring about the experience? So we proposed a new set of customer journey. So previously, Sarah has mentioned that the customer journey are mostly here, right? In the negative space. We want to be able to bring that here, up here, right? So if we see here, there are some differences. Of course, we want to be able to improve the customer journey. We know that if we want to make it all very nice, it's not possible, right? What we can do is that we can make some of them much, much better, improve it. How? If we see here, walking in the store is the same. And then the next one, it's negative because when you come there, you need to decide what kind of flavor I want to get. This can help the experience in being recommended the right kind of flavors by the servers. And then the experience can get much more pleasant when you taste it, you like it, right? And the next stage that we can do is that the servers can propose, you know what goes well with that flavor? This one, this product. You can combine that with, let's say, the waffles. We have really good waffles. When you're being presented with that kind of recommendation, of course you're going to take it, right? It's not, especially if you hear that this gelato store is very, very good. And then next, when you're making the payment, of course, sad, right? However, after that, you will enjoy your gelato. So this is the proposed journey that we are making. How do we make this into an experience? And then the next stage that we are doing is that we are creating the solutions. We've encountered how do we connect the insights. Right now, we want to connect the solution. So after we've identified that actually we can connect the insights by creating an experience economy for the customers. How do we go around that? So we've laid out 4 different types of the experience economy stages that they can also benchmark to. Number 1 is the product. So for example, if we see here, Amorino Gelato is a gelato store that's very, very popular in Europe. So what is so different about them? They're making the experience different by making the gelato into flower petals. And it's really, really nice. The flavors are actually good, and it makes it interesting. A lot of kids will be interested in trying the new product. And then if we see here, we have service. If we want to focus on the service, we can benchmark to Turkish ice cream. Of course, it looks like the same, looks like the same old ice cream. But when you see here, when you buy Turkish ice cream, it's different. Why? Because you see the sellers are playing with you, playing with the food, and then making fun of the food. It's fun, right? And here, if we go to commodity, one of the ways that they can also appeal to the customers is when they lay out the raw materials. For example, if here we see, let's say, coffee. In coffee, we can see this. We can see the beans. We can smell it. Smells amazing. If, let's say, in a gelato store, they can also do that by laying out the cocoa beans. Or if they also use coffee, they can lay out the coffee beans, and it will smell good. It will also be a really nice showcase. And then place. So here we've benchmarked to one of the cafe that is very cozy, one of the cafe in Jakarta that is very spacious and very, very nice in terms of the ambience. So the four of these experience economy, this makes it what we can do in order to make it above and beyond, right? So these are the things that we want to achieve to the gelato store, which is its gelato lab, and it promotes authenticity, which is purity. The second one is about ingredients, and it showcases the commodities. These promote freshness. And the last one will be the product, which promotes ambience, or we call it intensity. Okay. The last stage, how do we implement this solution? So after we've done giving recommendation about how do we go around it, the first stage that we've given as a way to implement this is that we can start by helping them in order to increase the service by taking a look at who are the people that they can promote as the role model. So if we go to the previous page, which is this is about experience economy, this talks about the ambience, the place. If we want to implement this first, it will be hard because it takes time, it takes effort, it takes money. But if we start with the people first, it will be easier for them to implement, and this will not take a very long time to be implemented, because what they can do is that they can also already identify who can help them in order to bring the experience better in terms of the service to the customers. And this is what we've done. So here, we've talked about previously, Sarah has explained that we've gathered surveys on personalities of the owners, management, and also the service. Now, based on our own observation, and also we've talked to the management and owners on who do you think is the role model for the service. We encountered two types of profiles. So number one, if we see here, this server is very detailed, because this server is the only one who mentioned the allergies, and the only one who can, to the fullest extent, follow the SOP very well. And we've also taken a look at a detailed survey with this employee, with the server, because actually when we went there as a mystery shopper, Sarah and I encountered the server. We really, really like the service. Very good, very detailed, and smiles all the way. The second type of the server, this one is different. Not the type to follow XOP to the fullest extent. However, very, very friendly and very sensitive to customers. And this server is very proactive. So when Sean came there, Sean encountered the server. When Sean came to us, and then he said that actually, when I came there, and then I observed the server from when the moment I came there in the morning up to the evening, I saw that he's very friendly to strangers, and then he's the type of person that can come to your table immediately after you finish your gelato, and then he will ask you questions, and when he will probe, and also this person will ask, hey, do you want to try this product, that product? So in a way, he's doing upselling. Very good. So based on this implementation, we already given that, you know what, you can start with this first, and then next, if you want to implement in trying to wrap up the ambience, trying to wrap up other things in terms of the product, you can do that next. But please start with the people. So this is an example of our own journey on how to implement innovation analytics, real case. Uh, so after this is a Q&A session, but before we go to the Q&A, Sean, can you please wrap up? So what is design thinking? And also, how do we go about design thinking?
Yep. So basically, as you guys have seen, we in the River Reno example, I think one of the key takeaways is that whenever you want to come up with a solution, or especially whenever you want to analyze a problem, first of all is you have to get and analyze data, right? Because as you can see from the graphs as well as the personality data that we analyzed, we have to have an evidence to show that this particular person or this particular employee is actually a certain personality, right? Or have a certain profile. And because the case here is for customer experience, right? Um, Emotions and experience uh, cannot be measured just by using data, right? So the Gelato case was actually quite an interesting case, an interesting project for us, because we couldn't just rely on the sales data, we couldn't just rely on the social media's data as well, but we actually have to go there and experience it ourselves so that we understand what the customer felt when they interacted with the was it the waiter and the waitresses. And we the product feedback was also very, very positive as well, and we tasted it as well, but you know from the sales, it didn't show that the quality of their service was bad, because the sales were growing really, really fast as well. But once we were there and once we experienced it ourselves as a customer, as a mysterious shopper, then we found out that, okay, yeah, there was an issue, and there was a problem about it. So basically, this was an interesting case for us. And many of you, it seems in the Q&A as well in the chat, has asked as well, what is the difference between data science and decision science and this design thinking, right? And why did we introduce this design thinking to our course as well? This is just to wrap up as well. Decision science is useful when you want to define and understand what the problem is. Using the data that is available to you in your business, it's very useful to understand, this is why we're losing sales. This is why customers are no longer wanting to work with us or to buy our products, right? Or this is the reason why they're not engaged with us anymore. But when it comes to, okay, then what is the next step, right? Okay, we found out that our customer service is bad, right? And we found out that it wasn't because of the product, it's just our customer service, right? And what do we do after that, right? That there has to be a solution out of that problem. And that solutioning, right, that solutioning process is what we think that design thinking works better than decision science or data analytics. Decision science is when you want to define a problem, and it's very useful to to actually nail down and to actually solidify this is the problem, right? So that everyone knows, okay, yeah, we've seen the data, we've seen all the evidence, this is the problem, and this is a very, very core issue. Next step is, okay, solving it, right? And that requires a lot of creativity. Solving a solution is almost a trial and error as well. And to get a better sense of how to solve the problem, you need to be the user themselves. You need to be the customer, or if you're talking about human resources, you need to understand your own employees, right? Which is why, like the example for Toyota, if you want to improve the factory and the conditions in the factory as well, you need to feel and understand what the factory workers are feeling, right? So that's why design thinking is basically the solutioning part to all of this decision science or data analytics. Okay, so let's go to the Q&A.
Okay, maybe Angel, I would like to ask for your help to choose the questions.
Okay, guys, we already have 26 questions. Wow.
Amazing.
Amazing. Okay, so I will pick 4 or 5 questions, but if you would like to ask us more, please do send us email, and we're going to answer your question for sure. Okay, let us straight to the question. There's a question from Gideon Satria Putra Sugianto. Hi, thank you for the explanation so far, very enlightening. By the way, I'm studying MBA at the moment and have long been warned about VUCA thing. How do we apply design thinking under VUCA condition, and where in the 5 parts that would be really matter, and how often do we have to revisit our design to ensure that it stays relevant with the current market condition and challenges? Sean, do you want to help to answer this question?
Yeah. So for those of you who may not know what VUCA is basically volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So it's basically what we're experiencing now in this coronavirus market or world where things are very complex and ambiguous. So how would you use design thinking in this VUCA condition? Basically, in the 5 parts, right? What I would always tell a lot of our clients, as well as a lot of people especially because I have a lot of friends in restaurants, is the empathy part. Always, 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 whatever the condition, whether it's ambiguous, whether it's uncertain, you need to understand what do people really need, right? Forget what the ideas are. It's always nice to come up with new ideas, right? But most of the time, always the most important part is usually the empathy, or even defining what the problem is and what people really need, right? And yes, people needs are changing. Before we want to travel, now we can't travel. Maybe now it's more about food now. So in that sense, right, always about the empathy part in the design thinking.
Okay. Thank you, Sean. Okay, let's moving on to the next question. The next question is coming from Faisal Anwar. The question is really interesting. How much data is enough, and what to do if there isn't any? Sorry, I lost the question. How much data is enough, and what to do if there isn't enough data to find insight and make decision? Sarah, would you like to help to answer this question?
Okay, thank you for the question, Angel. How much data is enough? Maybe I should try to give a simpler explanation. Yeah, if we come up with like a problem, if we encounter a problem, and the first question we ask is, "What kind of data do you have?" There will never be enough data because there will be people like, oh, I have this data. I have the employee demographic. I have the customer demographic. I have the address, the name of the spouse of the customer, and so on and so forth. So when we encounter a problem, first what we have to do is basically to frame the problem first. We walk to the field, we interview the employee, we meet the stakeholders to see what is the problem they are currently experiencing in the first place. After that, therefore, we can decide what kind of data do we need. For example, when we first do this project of this gelato store, when the owner contacted us, we had a session of calls, probably like 2 to 3 times before we decide the problem is. The owner already said that they want to improve the customer experience, but after we talk with them, we ask about what is the condition, what is the current customer feedback, how is the sales, and so on and so forth, we decide that actually to increase the customer experience, what we need to do is basically in empowering the people in terms, in this case, the staff or the employee, so they could give a better customer experience rather than making up new flavors or giving discounts and so on and so forth. After we decide on the problem, then we decide what kind of data do we need, such as the SOP, the sales, and so on. Why? If we only start with the data, we might miss the bigger picture here. We would need to focus on the data itself, thinking that, oh, I have demographic, I have sales, I have this. I can make segmentation based on the demographic, I can make segmentation based on the sales, and it will never end. We would never be able to reach the conclusion if we keep getting swayed away by a lot of questions and a lot of data. Therefore, basically, if we want to see if the data we have is enough, then we start with the problem first. If after we start the problem, we figure out that the data is not enough, therefore we can get more data by doing an extra steps of the analysis. In this case, we feel that the data of the SOP and the performance provided by the owners and management is not enough. Therefore, we do the profile assessment to the employee, to the staff, and then to the management.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, for the insightful answer. So let us move on to the next question. This question is coming from Nurush Safi. The question is, how to increase conversion, buying product, final payment, or purchasing by design thinking method? Because the dot of final payment in previous customer journey and proposed customer journey, that the dot is still in the bottom line, since most of business want their ROAS being increased. Tasha, can you help me to answer this question?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. This is actually interesting because it's one of the analysis that we did for the gelato store. We've taken a look at each of the product and also each of the commodities, right? So the way that they worked back then, each of the product is actually in very, very good condition because they were exported. So they were exported from outside of Indonesia, from Europe to here. And actually, when they sell the product there, when we analyzed it, they don't really have that much margin. So what did we help them with, right? We told them that why don't you try some of these products can be seen here in Indonesia. What we can help you with is take a look at the geographical area of some of the best producers of, let's say, chocolate, some of the best producers of the milk, some of the best producers of, let's say, the matcha flavor. So they can compare the prices of the commodities, and also match it with, if let's say this commodity have let's say this price, right? And they sold it at, let's say, the commodities are 1,000 rupiah, and then they sold it 2,000 rupiah. That's the basic of the benchmark of the initial price. But we help them with, hey, if you can find some of the distributors here and producers here, you can go directly to them. You can compare the prices. Actually, when they come to these producers, they can lower down the cost of the commodities up to around 50%, if I remember correctly at that time, right, Sean and Sarah? So we told them that you don't have to sacrifice the flavor of some of the commodities that are not available in Indonesia, but you can definitely play a bit with also the customer's flavor. So they already know. We give them when we give them the customer journey, we also give them some kind of benchmark of the flavors that Indonesians like. When they first came here, it's of course it's a franchise, and it's a niche market. Mostly it's related to the taste buds of Europeans. So it's a little bit bitter, and the chocolate and everything. So we told them, for the chocolate, why don't you go to the producers here instead of Europe, because they like it slightly sweeter in Indonesia. So they changed the chocolate and then some of the commodities, and actually they get a better margin at that. So that's how we implemented innovation analytics and design thinking in terms of helping them with the pricing of the products.
Okay, thank you, Tasha, for the answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This question is very relatable to the current condition. The question from Odin Olaya: how could we modify the service to give the experience that would match the experience before COVID-19? Sean, do you want to help me to answer this interesting question?
Wow. Okay, that's actually very interesting question. I understand that now it's very different, right? Knowing that with the COVID-19, we have to realize that with the health and security measures as well, things won't be the same as before, right? But maybe we can't be 100% the same, right, as before in terms of process. But what we can do is at least achieve the same level of satisfaction and quality of service for customers, right? Now, what do I mean by this is because, I mean, since the industry and the world has changed, customers will also have to adapt, right? But as long as as same with like the gelato store, if we're able to understand what the customers are actually experiencing, how do they feel, I think especially for in Indonesia here, not sure in Malaysia or even in Singapore, takeaway and delivery is basically the main go-to, right, for food, especially for restaurants now. But in Indonesia, they're coming up with creative ways on how to at least achieve the same level of service and satisfaction. That is by offering more customization. Instead of takeaway food, we can now cook with the ingredients, right? Because some restaurants, they're also giving out recipes and pre-packaged ingredients so that we can already cook at home, right? But if you think about it, they're just following what the market is needing, which is, customers can't go out to eat, but at least they can have the restaurant experience at home, right? Which I mostly do nowadays. I have hot pots with family, barbecue family, just a small family at home, right? And I buy it from restaurants and they already pre-packaged it, right? And that's basically part of the adapting, as well as knowing, what customers actually are feeling and wanting. A friend of mine actually changed his business we'll say model because of, for that reason as well. Like, he can't go out, right? I mean, he is a customer. Everyone is experiencing this, right? You can't go out, you can't go anywhere, right? So, what can you do? You have to stay home, right? And the only thing you can do for food or delicious food is either to take out for delivery or cook it yourself, right? And so I think, instead of trying to make the way it used to be, it's better to, how do we get the same level of satisfaction from our customer, but just in a different way.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's move on to the next question. This question is related to the study case that you guys have explained. Okay, the question is mystery shopping and observation the main methodologies used in the case study, or maybe design thinking in general? Because I'm wondering how you were able to create the customer journey graph. Is it completely subjective, or did you actually interview customers and did surveys? Tasha, can you help me to answer this question?
Okay, so the customer journey is not subjective because we did surveys both to customers and also to employees. It's just a different kind of survey for customers and to employees. To employees, it's mostly related to the online profile assessment, which is about leadership, communication, personality. To the customers, we were asking them about the preferences. So when we came there as a mystery shopper, we didn't came there with bare hands. So previously, before we came to the store, we already gathered all of the documents. We've read the documents. We've read and we've done some analysis about the products, the pricing, and we've done a pre-assessment, pre-profile assessment to the employees, right? So we didn't came there just doing nothing and observe, right? Observe as it is. No, we came there that we already know prior context about the store, and we've also seen the store through the Google, through the photos. We've interviewed all of the management, all of the owners, and walk through with them. What are some of the things that we can observe while we are doing the mystery shopping? So when we came there as a mystery shopper, we already analyzed all of the data. And there, we just came there to do the customer survey. And also, we have some notes, like observer notes, right? Some of them are mostly quantitative. That's why we were able to consolidate the customer journey that we've gathered, right? It's not just we came there and then subjectively rate, no, but we've done prior analysis from the documents. Like, let's say we saw that in the SOP, the lines on weekends versus weekdays should be different. So on weekdays, they have like maximum minute to queue is only 5 minutes, but for the weekends it's quite different. So it depends on the number of customers that also comes, but usually for weekdays 5 minutes. For weekends it's usually 10 minutes. So when we came there, we already told the managers and the store manager, can we put cameras around? So it's like a time motion study. So we put cameras around the cashier. We put cameras in the front of the store. We put cameras beside the store. So we were able to measure, let's say, the queue. Weekdays, weekend. So Sean back then, he came on the weekends. Sarah and I came on the weekdays. So we were able to understand, oh, okay. And then we can see also the customers, what was it? What the customers, the facial expressions, and also we can also see from from the server's point of view. So that's how we were able to do the mystery shopping. So it was a lot of steps that we need to do. We analyze the data first, take surveys from the personality of both owners, managers, and also employees, and then we talked with the managers and the owners about how do we do the mystery shopping, and we did time motion study real time in the store.
Well, it's a lot of work. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So let us move on to the next question. This question is from Alia Daraningtyas. I want to ask regarding the culture mapping. How to determine the culture of people? Sarah, can you answer this question?
Okay, so it's a very interesting question because every time we do this kind of project, the human capital analytics project, we get asked about this a lot. There was a research from a professor, if I'm not mistaken, from Harvard, that said that culture is basically a collective personality or collective attributes of the people. So it's not that the company determines the culture, but the people in that company decides on which culture they have. Therefore, if we do the profile assessment, let's say to this gelato store, let's say this gelato store has 50 employees, including the owners and then the management. We do profile assessment to all of them, and then we take a look at the attributes that are consistently high or consistently low, or the most common attributes. For example, uh, the leadership quality, the leading. The higher the leading, it means that they are more able to come up as a leader with their own initiative without anyone telling them to lead. Let's say in this gelato store, what we found out after we do profile assessment to all of them, that leading is high. That means that the culture of the people has high leading. And then the combination of these attributes leads to the differentiation to the culture that were briefly explained in the presentation, such as the create, the compete, the collaborate, and then the control. So if I go back to the case study, the most dominant culture in this gelato store is create, which means that the people are very creative, the environment are very easy for them to express themselves. If the culture of this gelato store is create, then most of the people who work or who owns the place usually have high creativity. So they have a really high creativity score and high independent mind score. Independent mind means that you are able to think on your own without anyone telling you what to do. Now, the combination of the personality attributes create the culture. Of course, it will be different if it's the control, where you need to work based on SOP. Usually, the control culture are for the airlines or for the company that really need SOP, and the compete usually for banking or for e-commerce or for retails, and collaborate usually for state-owned company or the people or a company who are very well known or being handed from one generation to the other generation. So basically, the attributes, the personality attributes of the people of the company creates a very, very common attributes, where everyone is high or everyone is low, and the combination of the consistently high or the consistently low attributes create the culture of the company. So that's how we determine the culture of the gelato store in this case.
Thank you, Sarah, for the comprehensive answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This question is very interesting. A question from Eva Karina. When it comes to rely on our intuition, how can we distance our analytical thinking from bias that might distort our judgment in finding a solution? Sean, can you help me to answer this question?
Yep. Okay. So whenever we want to come up with a solution, I know some of us or most of us think that um, when we work or when we want to to achieve something, we have to be objectively as possible, right? Unfortunately, we are all human beings and we are all have our own biases. I think what I can give light to is when should we be biased or be okay to be biased, and when should we not or try to reduce biasness. When we try to identify what the problem is, um, that's when we don't want to be biased. Why is that? Is because defining the problem is very important because it sets the objective and the premise of where is the company going to go, right? Or where are you going to go? Um, and if there's suddenly a lot of biasness where we don't pinpoint it on data, um, it is then like it's very hard to actually measure whether your decisions are actually effective or impactful or not. That's because when you are, let's say, wanting to solve revenue, right? Let's say the revenue in your company is going down, right? And then people are blaming it on the sales team, maybe people are blaming it on the market, and then people are blaming it on, let's say, the customer service. But which one is it, right? And data analytics and decision science gets down into, okay, it's not the sales team, it's not the market, it might be because of the customer service. And then we analyze the data, and then we analyze, okay, yep, we found out that the customer complaint and the customer service was actually really bad. And when they call customer service, and they straight away end the call, right? So when you frame the problem, try to be not as biased as possible. But when it comes to finding the solution, it's actually okay to be biased and using your own experience, because usually while there is what is the most used solution for a particular problem, but it's okay to actually allow those certain bias and experiences to apply to the problem that you have identified. Uh, However, when it comes to actually what's it, reviewing whether the decision or solution actually worked or not, that's also when you shouldn't be biased, because it always comes back to the data, right? If the data says that the solution is not working, based on revenue, on cost, or anything that you want to fix, right? If the data says it doesn't work, then it doesn't work, right? Because then you have to, then you learn that, okay, it doesn't work, then I need to change my strategy, I need to change my solution, right? And so that's when you don't want to be uh, bias or having influences in that area. So whenever you want to evaluate when things are effective or not, or when things are bad or not, that's when you shouldn't be biased. But when it comes to creating a solution, you actually want to have that creativity as well as experience uh, going into creating those certain solutions. So it depends on which stage you are in. So I wouldn't say bias is actually a bad thing as well.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Okay, we're reaching 9 p.m. Maybe this is the last question that I would like to ask. This question is the topic that many people ask. Can you recommend a book or books that are related to design thinking, Tasha?
Okay, I can give some examples of the books that I'm reading. One of them is made by Tom Kelly, which is about business design. I can also give some of the recommendations here. So business design, which is written by Tom Kelly. So Tom Kelly is actually part of IDEO, which is he's actually also um, is one of the main people in IDEO and in making IDEO bigger. He talks about how do you implement the design thinking in business context. That's one of the books that are very, very good if you want to start reading about design thinking. So not just don't just read from textbooks, but also read from these kind of sources. And then another one is on if you are interested in design thinking, you can read The Design of Everyday Things. Let me just see who's the author. I don't quite remember. I'm going to put that also in the chat, so you can also get a context of um, when we implement design, how do we implement it in everyday life, right? And the last one that I would like to recommend is on design as a storytelling. This book is very engaging. I'm also going to put that in chat. Why? Because it's not just like a novel. It's illustrative. It gives you new perspective of how to use design as a storytelling. I'm going to put that on chat. So 3 books.
Thank you, Tasha.
Okay.
So let me hand over to you again.
Okay. So guys, thank you very much for the session tonight. I'll probably send you after this session. I'm going to send you the email. I think some of you guys might need to have a good night's sleep because some of you are not actually in some of you I saw that from Ambon, and then from the end of from Kalimantan, from Manado, and everywhere in Indonesia, and also from abroad. I've seen some from Malaysia. Thank you so much for joining this session. I will give you after this the recording, and then also the material of the presentation, as well as the recommendation of the books that I've also mentioned, right? And we saw here there are also a lot of questions that you guys seem to want to understand better. We would like to see more of your questions. Please give us an email to each of these email, whether through me, through Sarah, Sean, or this is our other email, our default email, and our Instagram. Please do give us the questions. We apologize because we cannot answer a lot of the questions that are being asked here. However, we also understand that you guys might need to have work tomorrow, and you guys need to have a good night's sleep. So please do give us emails to ask questions through whether to our email or whether to our Instagram. Once again, thank you very much. We will give you the recording of the session, the material of the presentation, and also the book recommendations if you guys want to start implementing design thinking. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for the wonderful session. The questions are very, very intriguing. We do really appreciate that you guys have really a lot of good questions, and we are honored to be able to share with you guys on how do we implement design thinking so far. So thank you very much. So okay, so we have here in chat from Augustine. He
Yeah.
so from Augustine is giving like some free course of design thinking, and also giving
From
some
IDEO
of the
University.
yeah,
That one
that's
is also
correct.
a very good course, online course from design thinking. I would recommend IDEO or looking into IDEO as well, guys. They are
Yep.
also very good consultants in design thinking. A bit different to us. They're mostly into tangible products, whereas we're into like the customer experience and services. So I would definitely check them out as well.
Don't worry, we will give you guys some recommendation in the email that we will send you. Will be a book recommendation from me, from Sean, and also from Sarah. And some of the websites that we also encounter to create the design thinking experience economy and all of that. We also see that some of you guys ask, do we need to implement like the same experience economy to other contexts? Of course, no, because design thinking doesn't work like that. You need to also contextualize the problem and the type of information that you're gathering in order to solve the problem that you guys have in your line of work, or when you, if you guys are students, then in your studies. We hope that this session is useful for you guys to be implemented in your work or in your studies. Please do contact us through our email, through our Instagram. Some of the questions that we haven't covered so far, please do ask us through our email. Contact us so that we can help you guys in deciphering what is design thinking, what is analytics. We will be very, very happy to help you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Have a nice evening and nice
Thank
sleep as
you.
well.
Thank you so much for the participation tonight.
And we noticed that your energies are very, very high, because after we've been talking 1 hour and 30 minutes, and then so the participation is very, very high.
Yes.
So thank you very much. Stay tuned on our Instagram, because we will definitely be having another session, another sharing session, not only about design thinking, but other topics as well, related to problem solving, critical thinking, and also analytics. So don't worry. Once again, we will give you the material, the recording, and also the book recommendations from me, from Sarah, and from Sean through the email.